Well, I'm sure you've been talking about this during your Thanksgiving meal. Stocks getting rocked. New worries this week with technology, trade, and a whole array of things. Are we going to be feeling more pain before the new year? Let's ask market watchers Danielle Shay and Keith Fitzgerald. Danielle, let me start with you. Ugly October spilled into November, and now a lot of investors are scratching their heads and they're really concerned. How concerned should they be?
Well, it depends what side of the market you're on. But for me, I am looking for more downside in this market. We've seen technology lead the market higher most of the year. And at this point, it's leading it lower. And I haven't seen any signs of that stopping just yet.
You think it's justified, or it's just because the momentum has shifted and that's what's happening?
It's a variety of factors. Yes, the momentum did shift, especially right around the beginning of October. We saw a little bit just really running out of energy, first of all. And I think the justification came in with Q3 earnings season. So, first quarter, second quarter, we saw stocks continuing to trade higher. That was backed by tax cuts. It was backed by the fact that corporate earnings were strong, guidance was strong. But then what happened was Q3 came along, and we had a couple of our leading companies announce the fact that they're lowering their guidance for next quarter. And we also have an effect of tariffs. So I do think it is a little bit justified, but at this point, it's a little bit more fear-based.
Keith?
Yeah, I think it's all about internals right now. To all of her points, I agree with every single thing she just said. However, I also want to factor in the technicals, because you're talking about computers that are making thousands of trading decisions every second. They're rebalancing against ETF index, which is by their very nature a passive investment. So even good quality stocks are getting carried out feet first. I'm aware anecdotally a number of hedge funds are in big time margin call trouble. So, this is sell anything you can, including the kitchen sink. And until that stops, I agree, downside ahead.
Yeah, Danielle, I think, the kitchen sink part is pretty interesting and pretty relevant, because whether it's people who bought stocks earlier this year at margin, when your losers go down, you have to sell your winners. And, even though, to your point, third quarter, there were some ominous signals, I think Larry Kudlow, who was on the air a lot this week, talking about the economy, talking about going forward, I think he's pretty spot on. We've had an enormous run in this economy. We'll have 3% growth for the first time, I think, since 2005. That's not going to completely vanish overnight.
No, and that's true. It's not going to completely vanish overnight. But, going back to the kitchen sink, selling begets more selling. And at some point, it doesn't really matter, because when people just start selling all of their positions, regardless of what is actually going on, you just get a waterfall cascading effect, which is really what we've seen this Thanksgiving
So
week.
No Santa Claus rally for Danielle.
Well, I think if there is a Santa Claus rally, there's going to be one of two catalysts. It could be, number one, a short squeeze, right? If everyone is trading to one side of the market and everyone gets so bearish, then at that point we could have some buyers coming in, but it's going to have to be buyers on high volume that can actually move this trend higher. The second thing could be a surprise, for example, if the Fed does not raise interest rates, or any positive news with China that actually goes through. Those two things, I think, could be a catalyst to move higher. But
well, Keith, we got the G20 meeting coming up. President Trump meets with President Xi, and then, of course, the Federal Reserve will meet, and there will be a lot of pressure on them to articulate their message now. October 3rd, Jay Powell made some comments that I think triggered this avalanche, and maybe they'll step up to the plate and make some comments that can maybe give us some calm out there.
Well, Charles, I agree with that and have for a long time. I think the Fed has been off the proverbial map. I think they lost control a long time ago. I think we simply lurch from one crisis to the next, and this is no exception. The Fed seems to like talking, except at the moments when it's very most needed. I think they could have a few well-placed comments about walking back their damn the torpedoes raising interest rates approach, even if they're not official, and fix this in about 90 seconds. If there's even a hint of an agreement in China, maybe something as serious as, hey, these two were seen talking to each other and they were smiling, that might begin well. But we've got to have that high volume, high piece buy come back in. People can't walk away from the bid anymore, and that's going to change the computers, which in turn then become a self-fulfilling circle. It's a complicated, counterintuitive series of events, but a rally is still possible, and you buy low, sell high. That's how the game is played.
Well,
so
I'll ask you the same thing I presented to Danielle. A Santa Claus rally, can we end the year on a positive note?
You know, you never say never. I'm not counting on it, but I'm not ruling it out either, because I've been in this game a long time and I've seen a lot of strange stuff happen, not the least of which is buying when you least expect it. So you got to be ready.
I'll give you one more chance, Danielle. High note, despite the variables, possible?
High note. You know, it's possible, but honestly, I would rather just stick with some of the picks that I have in healthcare, because despite the correction that we've seen, healthcare has remained strong. Healthcare
has been one of the strongest sectors out there, without a doubt. Well, you both are great with the markets, but if you ever want to go into politics, I think you might have a shot there as well. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you both very much.
Happy Thanksgiving.
All righty. Well, we all have so many things to be thankful